Nigel Farage has said Britain could be worse off after leaving the EU unless Theresa May gets tough with Brussels in the Brexit negotiations. The former UKIP boss said May was the wrong leader to take Britain out of the bloc, as the EU knows she would never walk away from the negotiations, despite her mantra that no deal is better than a bad deal. Mr. Farage, who is regarded as one of the architects of Brexit, has been bullish in the past about Britain's economic prospects after leaving the EU. Squabbling cabinet to hold checkers away day on Brexit, but he warned that May was being forced into a series of damaging concessions by failing to make a show of strength to Brussels. Mr. Farage told the Today programme, "We have the got wrong leader. If we had a leader who actually believed in Brexit and was prepared to see there was a vision for the future, we could make a success of it. We will finish up perhaps in an even worse place than we are now, because we won't be free to deregulate, we won't be free to go out in the world and make our own deals, we won't be controlling our own borders, and we will still be accepting rules from Brussels." He added, "Here's the problem, Trump walks away from things, he rather enjoys it actually." Theresa May parroted no deal is better than a bad deal, "I think just to get votes in the general election," and, Michel Barnier knows the one thing the Prime Minister will not do under any circumstances is walk away. "That's why we are having to make a series of concessions, and kicking the can down the road to the extent that even if things go to plan we are not going to get any form of Brexit until at least 6 years after the people voted. It comes after a bruising couple of days for the Prime Minister, where rebellions over Brexit from both David Davis and Boris Johnson risked overshadowing her appearance at the G7 summit in Canada. May will gather her warring ministers at Chequers to thrash out key parts of the government's Brexit position, where she will attempt to unite her cabinet on the details in the much-anticipated White Paper. However, the away day at her Buckinghamshire residence will come after a crunch summit with EU leaders later this month. She told EU leaders at the summit in Quebec that we'll be talking about finalizing withdrawal agreement but also pressing on the future relationship during the cabinet trip. Tensions over Brexit threatened to bubble over this week, when May had to make a last-minute customs compromise with David Davis, her Brexit secretary, after he threatened to resign over her backstop proposals for the Irish border. She was also forced to say she had full confidence in Boris Johnson, when leaked recordings emerged of the Foreign Secretary directly criticizing her approach and warning of a Brexit meltdown. John Murphy flies the European flag outside his home near the border village of Forkhill, Coarmagh. An abandoned shop is seen in Mullen, Monaghan. The building was home to 4 families who left during the Troubles. The town was largely abandoned after the hard border was put in place during the conflict. Mullen has seen some regeneration in recent years, but faces an uncertain future with Brexit on the horizon. Mervyn Johnson owns a garage in the border town of Pedigo, which straddles the counties of Donegal and Fermanagh. "I've been here since 1956, it was a bit of a problem for a few years. My premises has been blown up about 6 or 7 times, we just kept building and starting again," Johnson said, laughing. "We just got used to it, the hard border, really, but now that it's gone, we wouldn't like it back again." Farmer Gordon Crockett's Coshquen farm straddles both Derry, Londonderry in the north and Donegal in the Republic. "At the minute there is no real problem, you can cross the border as free as you want. We could cross it 6 or 8 times a day," said Crockett. If there was any sort of obstruction it would slow down our work every day. A defaced "Welcome to Northern Ireland" sign stands on the border in Middletown, Co Armagh Potter Brenda McGinn stands outside her Mullen, Co Monaghan, studio, the former James Boyle and Shoe Factory, which was the main employer in the area until it shut down due to the Troubles. When I came back, this would have been somewhere you would have driven through and have been quite sad. It was a decrepit-looking village, said McGinn, whose Busy Bee Ceramics is one of a handful of enterprises restoring life to the community. Now this is a revitalized, old hidden village. Union flag colors painted on curbstones and bus stops along the border village of new buildings, Co-Derry, Londonderry. Grass reflected in Laddenloch, which is split by the border between Cavan and Fermanagh. Seen from near Binnicker, Northern Ireland. Donegalman David McClintock sits in the border cafe in the village of Muff, which straddles Donegal and Derry, Londonderry. An old Irish phone box stands alongside a bus stop in the border town of Glasgow, Co Monaghan. Billboards are viewed from inside a disused customs hut in Carrick-Carnan, Co Down, on the border with Co Louth in the Republic. Seamus McQuaid takes packages that locals on the Irish side of the border have delivered to his business, McQuaid Auto Parts, to save money on postal fees, near the Co Fermanagh village of Newtown Bootler. I live in the south but the business is in the north, said McCabe. I wholesale them to the Republic of Ireland, so if there's duty, I'll have to set up a company 200 yards up the road to sell to my customers. I'll have to bring the same product in through Dublin instead of Belfast. A disused Great Northern Railway line and station that was for customs and excise on the border town of Glenfarne, Coitry Malice Mullen, from Monaghan in the Republic of Ireland, does her shopping at a former customs post on the border in Middletown, Co Armagh. I'd be very worried if it was a hard border. I remember when people were divided. I would be very afraid of the threat to the peace process. It was a dreadful time to live through. Even to go to Mass on a Sunday, you'd have to go through checkpoints. It is terribly stressful, said Mullen. All those barricades and boundaries were pulled down. I see it as a huge big exercise of trust, and I do believe everyone breathed a sigh of relief. A bus stop and red post box stand in the border town of Jonesboro, Co Armagh. The Prime Minister told reporters at the G7, people like Boris have strong views on Brexit, but so do I. I want to deliver Brexit for the British people, that's what people want. And I am getting on and doing it. She added, at every stage of these negotiations we have seen people casting doubt on whether or not we will achieve what we want to achieve. It also comes ahead of a Commons showdown next week, where MPs are gearing up for a fraught two-day battle over the EU withdrawal bill, the government's flagship piece of Brexit legislation.